complex as simply managing the toxicology itself. Thank you, Mr. Warden.
Thank you. And supplementary?
Thanks, Warden, and thanks. This is exactly the types of initiatives that I think that the partnerships and the cooperation that the county has had with all the organizations part of our community drug strategy, MESA, the Heart Hubs, SUAP application that we got for federal funding. All these point to everybody coming together and successfully trying to address this epidemic that we have in our community, and I just wanted to thank all the organizations involved to get us this far. Thank you.
Thank you. Member from Bone Shire Valley, please.
Thank you, Warden. And further to that, I think everybody in the room should know that we were lauded at our Board of Health meeting yesterday for all of the initiatives that we've taken on in partnership with all of the institutions that my colleague just mentioned. We did go through the drug strategy robustly yesterday, and I think that everybody on the board understands the incredible role that the County of Renfrew staff, elected, and all the people that we've been able to partner with. That board understands that we don't work in a silo or in a vacuum, and it was pretty impressive that the gentleman that was presenting mentioned the County of Renfrew at least 5 or 6 times. So kudos to all of those that are involved. Thank you.
And Chief Nolan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gordon, and thank you to the councillor for the accolades. And I want to make sure that those accolades are shared between all of the different agencies. This is based upon federal grant funding. We're getting exemptions from Health Canada to be able to have a testing device and have illicit narcotics in our possession without the criminal code applying. This is a highly complex piece of work that does take it to the next level, but it's also a good reminder that when the CAO and the warden said lean into this well over a year and a half ago, this work started well over a year and a half ago to make it possible today. And so, to Matt Grenier, to our public health, our hospitals, all the partners to make it happen, because without alignment, none of this would be possible. And if you want to think of it in a metaphoric way, we put chips down, on the roulette wheel on white, on black, on green, on numbers, and all of those are coming in now. And they were all hopes at one time, but now we're actually giving the community and the people in the MESA program a lot of hope and a lot of success as a result of all of council's support and the direction that we received from the CAO and the warden initially. So thank you. Thank you. And the chair, please.
Thank you so much, and just perhaps to expand a little bit on the chief's comments, so that the also SUAP, or the Substance Use Assistance Program, is multi-vector. Because this is through SUAP, but it is a separate initiative completely from the previous SUAP that is leading to the McKay Manor-led initiative on homelessness, et cetera. The other element that really struck me, there was a couple, I guess. So at Health Committee, Councillor Weir had inquired of any enforcement overlap or synergies. And I was informed by Deputy Chief Grenier that in fact there is metadata that is being generated. It is anonymized, but that the table that has been convened that oversees that, the police agencies do sit on those tables as well. So that larger intelligence gathering is available to them, but it is not street level enforcement. But another element that really appealed to me in this as well, in an absurd sort of fashion, but nonetheless, almost from a quality control perspective, when we are able to do an analysis early on, when there are illicit drugs in our community, then early analysis can discover if there are deadly agents in there. And those certainly that are suffering from substance use issues, they do not wish to take their life in their hands in feeding that need. So it is providing some security for those users as well if there is tainted supply in a community. So I think that there are multiple levels where this is going to be of assistance in our community. And I think kudos, as the chief has said, to all of the stakeholders. Once again, this is demonstrating the value of all pulling in the same direction.
Thank you. And I think if I could just add, trust has been a central emotion or a central theme or a central guiding principle throughout this exercise. So the trust of the clients in the paramedic service, because as we've talked about right from the very start, people with substance issues or homeless or with mental health issues do not have trust for the most part in the system. And they also have regular health issues like all of us. And for some of their health issues to be dealt with by the paramedics when they're out in the community starts to initiate that level of trust that's necessary to build a relationship. And then the trust extends through to this program. They're not going to have to, as the chief has noted, surrender all of their drugs that they're dependent upon at this point for them to be tested. They're also not going to be arrested, and that allows the start of the journey to abstinence and recovery. Trust also is between the various agencies, and that's been something that's had to be earned and had to take a bit of time. And so there's a number of partnerships, culminating with the partnerships around the Heart Hub application and now the eventual stand-up of it. And then the trust here in this chambers that when staff and the CAO came to the chambers with the ideas that evolved into programs, you listened and recognized this is not plowing roads, this is not severing lots, our traditional areas of responsibility, this is not long-term care, nor is it community services per se that we would have been involved in 5 years ago. So you've allowed the expansion in accordance with our strategic plan, which talks about health for our community. And health wasn't just economic health, and it wasn't social health, it's physical and mental and emotional health. So again, thank you very much, but I think if we remember about trust and how far we've come based on our ability to build trusting relationships right from our client list through our service providers. So thank you to you for sharing the vision and ensuring it go forward, because it pretty easily could have been disrupted by saying, no, that's not what we do. We just plow roads. So thank you. Is there anything further on the report? Could I have, I'm sorry, the member from Kiloo, Haggerty Richards?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to comment on number 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you can.
Just a comment. This is an unbelievable program, and I hope we never lose sight of the fact that this is so valuable to every community. And when you put a measurement on one life that this program can save, it's a tremendous program, and I hope we never lose sight of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, and the chair, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. I just wanted to I'm unsure, this is not part of the defibrillators in the community itself, the AED initiative. I think that these are on board within the paramedic units themselves, correct?
Chief, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Through you, to you, Chair. Yes, these are probably better thought of as sophisticated monitors that occasionally defibrillate, as opposed to defibrillators that don't have a monitoring capability.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, mover, please.
So moved, Mr. Warden.
So you've heard the motion, you've heard the discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you very much, Council. And next we'll move to corporate services. Chair, please.
Thank you, Warden. Members of County Council, we, your Committee of the Whole, Corporate Services, wish to report and recommend as follows. Under bylaws, resolution number FACC 25-03-22, that County Council adopt a bylaw to set tax ratios for the county and lower tier purposes for the year 2025. Resolution number FACC 25-03-23, that County Council adopt a bylaw to set tax rate reductions for prescribed property subclasses for county and lower tier purposes for the year 2025, and the background is there. And finally, I have a resolution number FACC 25-03, that County Council adopt a bylaw to establish the 2025 tax rates for the County of Renfrew purposes, all of which is respectfully submitted by myself as chair and committee members. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns from members of council on item number 1? And the member from Amherst Bromley, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My comment is very specific to one of these items, and I have raised it before, though there is some different context, I think, in when we get into the committees, particularly the D&P committee report following council and Mr. Waibu's presentation on the hype. And that is in particular, you'll find this on page 61 of the today's report. And once again, it is the small-scale on-farm business subclass. Now, there are two business subclasses. There are also the small business subclass. And I'm uncertain, but it is commonly discussed that there is a substantial administrative burden, and I think there might even be some conflict between lower tier and upper tier and how that is managed, et cetera, that it is not a simple thing. However, with respect to the on-farm business, once again, you note that it's recommended that it not be adopted due to the limited number of properties. So as a basis unto itself, I have questioned that before. But as part of the hype, and it's part of the background to that, and I don't know if it's per se right within Mr. Waibu's presentation, but one of the points, for those who may have it already loaded, this is on page 122 of the D&P report. It says the key focus areas, and the first one is agriculture and agritourism. It's talking about on-farm diversification, value-added agriculture, and environmental improvements. So it strikes me that on one hand, we are trying to make initiatives in support of economic development and expansion of business on farms when there is an opportunity, even in how we are taxing the property, that would be a commercial operation on the farm, which we are now encouraging, spending money to encourage that. It seems inconsistent then with not providing that on-farm business class, which I believe, and I'm not sure if Mr. Davis, not to put him on the spot, I think it formerly was $50,000, the first $50,000 of assessment could see up to a 75% reduction in the commercial tax rate. I think that that's now been bumped up to $100,000, the first $100,000 of commercial assessment, once again, is eligible for up to a 75% reduction in the commercial tax rate. So those unto themselves seem to be relatively good incentives, in what we're attempting to do with this HYPE program, that we even have the opportunity through our tax policy of providing an incentive that we don't have to actually fund a community improvement type situation. So I don't know what urgency there is to adopt the tax policy and the tax ratios overall. This certainly, I think, is something that could be subject to an amendment, I guess, at a future meeting. But I just wanted to put that out there, that there is, it seems that this is a right-hand, left-hand sort of thing, that one of the incentives we can provide to agriculture and agritourism is to make live that small on-farm business tax subclass.
Thank you. And Mr. Davis?
Thank you, Warden, and through you. So not in my wheelhouse regarding the tax class, and I'll defer to Mr. Burke for that one, but for the HYPE program, when what you'll see with Mr. Waibu in his presentation in our regional incentive program, Again, these are just the high-level conceptions of what we envision the HYPE program. Nothing's written in stone at this time. I think what you'll see in the presentation, what you see in the report, the DNP report, is it'll change once we have feedback from individuals, from municipalities, and it will change. So I think we'll kind of leave it at that as a what could be out there for the HYPE program. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. And so the first question, I guess, is to Mr. Burke. I have two questions. One is the urgency of passing this, and then secondly, would it make sense to, if there is an urgency or a need to pass it, to have you and Mr. Davis's department get together and sort this out and come back to us at a later date? Thank you.
Good morning, Council, and through your warden. So there is somewhat of an urgency. We are attempting to pass the tax rates now a month in advance of when we normally would, because your lower tiers are attempting to beat what may be a looming postage strike for final tax bill mailouts. So that is why we are rushing this, so to speak. To answer your earlier question about conceptually why we choose not to do the small scale on-farm business tax class, we have considered this a number of times, and in the 2025 year, this meeting, we deferred to those townships that this would impact. So there are, I believe, 8 or 9 properties that this could potentially impact. They are in Horton, Laurentian Valley, and Whitewater. So the treasurers of those townships did agree to get together and do an analysis of this issue and see if it would be of benefit to them. They came back at the March tax policy meeting and didn't have a good, strong opinion one way or another. So hearing no real push to do this, we've left it alone. So that's why it remains, again, for a number of years now. We've considered this, but haven't been able to really understand if this is of benefit or an economic driver that we should implement, and therefore we have always just left it alone. And I think when we talk about magnitude, it's 8 or 9 properties, potentially shifting less than $3,000 from the agricultural class onto the residential class. So very small dollar amounts.
Supplementary, Mr. Bromley?
Thank you. Just a couple of points for clarity. I was not suggesting that I know what the details are in HYPE. In fact, we're going to go through a rigorous process to divine what is the desire of our community and council. Ultimately, I was just saying that the HYPE is meant to incentivize economic development, and not providing tax relief where we are afforded the opportunity to do so also seems like an incentive. With respect to the whether there's utility, so certainly on the properties that exist, I think that it is a compelling argument that there is little tax burden to shift, because even amongst the properties, I think Mr. Burke had suggested that there are 3, maybe 4 municipalities that are affected. So it would effectively be not much more than a rounding error for the other classes to pick up that slack. But more so where I'm considering this is as the incentive, it is yet one more incentive for someone that is giving consideration to this. And that's what HYPE is anticipating doing, is incentivizing economic development. And that's the lens through which I'm viewing this small on-farm business subclass, is that is likewise an incentive, that if you are currently paying farm tax, which is 25% of residential, if you construct some sort of commercial activity, it is taxed as a commercial operation. But then if you can reduce by 75%, you're putting it almost back at the same tax class, not precisely, because commercial is double residential, but it is again an incentive. So with respect to and I'm uncertain if I understood particularly the context of Mr. Burke's answer, but I can say as a farmer that there is an incentive when this is there. That
So-
the fact that there's not a lot of them doesn't seem to be,
You're in the red section now.
doesn't seem to be a compelling argument.
Okay, thank you. Would you be, Okay, Chair, and then we'll,
Thank you, if I may, Mr. Warden. My colleague does bring up an interesting point, but seeing as this is the first time we're seeing hype and knowing that there will be consultation throughout the year, it is the end of March. I would suggest that we pass these. As Mr. Burke very astutely said, these need to be passed sooner rather than later. Our budgets need to be passed and go out before another postage strike, God forbid. But I think that this may be something for the 2026 budget year for our staff to take into consideration in September, October. But that would be my suggestion. Thank you.
okay, and to the member, would you be content if Mr. Davis and Mr. Burke, once we start ironing out hype, see if there's a way forward for those two departments on this issue?
I'm not at all persuaded that one is dependent on the other. The entire initiative of hype certainly needs to be fleshed out, but the basis of hype is to incentivize economic development. That's clear. So I don't know that the details of what may be contained in hype are going to shed any more light or be more expansive on why this would be. What I'm saying is this is an incentive that is available to us now, regardless of what incentives we might be able to design through hype.
Okay, thank you. Whitewater, please.
Thanks, Warden. I agree with the proposals that have been put on the floor. I just would also want to recommend that we consider asking the Renfrew County Agriculture Economic Development Committee to look at this for 2026 to see if there's a recommendation specific from that committee that may be able to form what's the best way for us to incentivize on-farm diversified use. They may have an opinion that would be able to consider whether that's incentivizing through hype or through this program. And I think that in combination with the treasurer's input would be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And did I see Deep River? Thank you. Deep River?
Thank you. Just a question around the industrial class ratio of 2.7 this year, down from 2.722. Understanding that we need to come to that the provincial whatever threshold is. I thought we did this in 2024 or 2023 to get it to that level, but now it's dropping one more time. Is that
Okay, and we'll leave that with Mr. Burke, please.
Through you, Warden. So in 2024, when we attempted to finally get out of our levy restriction, what we understood at the time to be true was that we were targeting the broad industrial class, which is an average of the two, regular industrial and large industrial, to drop below the levy restriction. Subsequent to that, we have learned that no, both classes are independently levy restricted. So our industrial class is now below that provincial threshold and no longer levy restricted, but our large industrial class remains above that threshold and continues to require this moderate shift every year as we slowly reduce ourselves down to that provincial threshold. So we did do that, but I guess at the time we took a little bit of bad advice and targeted the broad ratio rather than the specific individual ratios.
Thank you. Supplementary?
Yeah, so then that would beg the question of, so how far off of that provincial threshold are we on the large industrial?
Mr. Burke.
Through you, Mr. Warden, it has to reach 2.63. I think we're at 2.7 now, so 0.7 of a...
Okay, thank you. Any further questions on item number 1? And the member, Edmondson Bromley?
Just following up on this large industrial. So do we have our own capacity to design the length of time? Presumably we could do that in a year, but I'm assuming that it is being spread out so as to alleviate the burden that may be distributed. So is there an expectation on how many years to get ourselves into alignment?
Mr. Burke, please.
Through you, Mr. Warden, the levy restriction is predicated on transferring only 50% of the budgetary increase to that class. So depending on the budgetary increase, we will change the length of time it will take to grind that down. So on years where we have a larger tax levy increase, it will require a greater levy ratio reduction. And on years where there is no levy increase, it would not have to be changed at all. That's the formula there. So I suspect, though, it would be 3 or 4 years.
Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll move to item number 2. Okay, the report as a whole. And mover, please.
So moved, Mr. Warden.
Thank you. You've heard the report and the discussion, Council. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you, Council. And we'll move next to Striking Committee, and Chair, please.
Thank you, Warden. Members of County Council, we, your Striking Committee, wish to report and recommend as follows. Under bylaws, a bylaw to establish the county committees for the ensuing year. Resolution number SC-CC-250305. Moved by myself, seconded by committee, that the persons listed in bylaw number 4525 be the committees for the ensuing year, and that the first person named on each committee, where bold, be the chair, and that these be established by bylaw at this session of County Council, and that bylaw 1-25 be repealed. All of which is respectfully submitted by myself as chair and committee members Donahue, Eamon, Grills, Yon, and Nicholson. Thank you, Warden.
Thank you. And discussion on item number 1? Okay, seeing none, can I have a mover, please? Oh, I'm sorry, member from Deep River.
Sorry, I did have a question. What was it? Oh, ad hoc committees. So we've got a number of ad hoc committees that are listed. In most cases, it lists the chair in bold, and then the other committee members. And then there's a few that are a committee of one person, potentially. I mean, I know there's outside bodies involved in some of them. Climate action, both names that are on there are bolded. And then the Transportation Advisory Committee, the chair is listed, but then no other members are listed on there. So specifically the Transportation Advisory Committee, it's only listing the chair and no other members.
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. I'll address the climate action plan through you, Warden. Sorry, the climate action plan. That's a likely typo. There's only one board. There's only one chair of that meeting. So that's a typo in that one. There are 2 members on the Transportation Advisory Committee. The terms of reference are still being drafted. So at this point, all that's being appointed through this is the chair. And once that committee is stood up with the terms of reference, then the chair will be working with Mr. Perkins and other staff to develop those terms of reference moving forward to bring to that committee. I think there's citizens, I believe, on that committee as well, and other groups. I just don't recall. Mr. Perkins may recall that draft of the committee recommendation, but that's where we're at.
So if I might, so the reason
Sure,
I ask
supplementary.
is that the Transportation Advisory Committee is a responsibility to the Operations Committee, which I chair, so I'm assuming that I would be on the Transportation Advisory Committee, but it's not listed in the list below.
Through you, Warden, that's not necessarily to be on that committee.
That's fine by me, thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah.
And that was kind of the assumption based on some of our conversations. So we're trying to work our way around that, but thanks for exposing that. yeah. All of a sudden there's 3 members and there would be 2. Oh, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, and a mover, please.
So moved, Warden.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And we'll move to item number 12, which is consent items, and seeing none, I believe. Number 13, which is staff reports with direction, we see none. Closed, there is none, as I'm aware of. Okay. And reports from representatives appointed to external boards. And
Mr.
yes,
Warden, if I may, we didn't have a Roma board meeting this month, and EORN is tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much. Notice of motions, none. Members' written motions, none. Are there any announcements? Okay, seeing none. New business? Okay, just checking the big screen, seeing none. Bylaws, and that the bylaws listed be deemed read 3 times and passed. Could I have a mover, please? So the member from Brudenell, Lindock, Raglan, seconded by the member from Laurentian Valley. And discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. Confirmatory bylaw. That bylaw 4625 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the County of Renfrew at the meeting held on March 26, 2025 be now numbered, deemed read 3 times and passed. Mover, please. Member from Petawawa, member from Head Clare-Mariah. Discussion? And the member from North Wilbur Force.
Thank you, Warden. Just one, excuse me, one comment. You said it was bylaw 4625, it's 4525.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so it is now 4525? It is 4625 because of the striking committee. Okay, sorry. And it's good to raise that because it's quite possible I would have made a mistake anyway. So we've heard the motion and discussion. Or did we have a mover and seconder on that? Yes, we did. Okay. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And with that, we would seek a motion to adjourn at 10:27. Mover Deep River, second by Boncher Valley. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? None. It's carried. Thank you. And we'll take a 10-minute break and then reset at 10:40 with the Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
Welcome back, and good morning, everybody, to join our Development and Property Committee on March the 26th, 2025, and we are starting at 10:41. Evelyn, has roll call been taken?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, then can I get a mover for the adoption of the minutes for the Development Property Committee from February the 26th, 2025? Moved by Councillor from Greater Madawaska, seconded by Councillor from Town of Pointer Valley. Discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. So we do have a delegation this morning, and it's with David Wybu from the Business Development, Economic Development Division.
Sorry, Chair, we do have closed minutes to approve as well.
My apologies, thank you very much. So I will need a mover to adopt the closed minutes of the February 26, 2025 meeting. Moved by Councillor from Arnprior, seconded by Councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards. Any additions, corrections, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. And now we will move on to our delegation with David Wybu from the Economic Development Division, and he's going to be presenting the HYPE program. Thanks, David.
Oh, you were hiding it on me. Thank you, Chair Brose, members of County Council. My name is David Wybu. I'm the Business Development Officer for the County of Renfrew. So today, just going to give a bit of a background of the proposed HYPE program. So in August of 2024, planning staff presented to the Development and Property Committee about regional incentive programs. In September, County Council gave direction to staff to develop a program under a staff governance structure and make recommendations for a funding amount for the 2025 budget. This past February, County Council approved and budgeted an amount of $100,000 within the Economic Development Division for the HYPE incentive program. So our proposed regional incentive program, called HYPE, is designed to drive economic development through financial incentives that support key areas of investment. It has been created in alignment with the county's strategic plans, including trail strategy, active transportation, climate action plans, and housing and homeless plans, with the objective to promote affordable housing, tourism, business retention and expansion, and other investment readiness. Thank you. The HYPE, the county's incentive program covers areas within the County of Renfrew that already have an existing local community incentive program, and the lands designated by any local bylaw for such a program. Currently, there are 7 municipalities with a CIP in place. There are 2 other municipalities that have bylaws for such, but they do not either have it funded or are actively promoting it. The program is eligible to registered owners and tenants upon written consent of landowners for lands and buildings within the municipality, again with the CIP. On a regular basis, in essence, there would be 2 application intake periods per year. The first intake period would be January 1st through to the third Friday, I should say, of March. These applications would be reviewed and decisioned at a county level, with municipalities informed ideally the fourth week of March. After this period, should there be any funds remaining, the second intake period would take effect, and that would be on a case-by-case basis or an application-by-application basis on a first-come, first-served basis until funds are depleted. The operation of the HYPE program is a collaborative effort between the County of Renfrew and local municipalities. First applications are received, reviewed, and decisioned at the municipal level. Successful applications at the municipal level, if they are a fit for HYPE, are submitted to the county. At the county level, applications for HYPE are reviewed and decisioned by a panel consisting of economic development and planning staff. With the exception of applications involving tax increments, tax increment grants would go to county council for approval. For successful applications for the HYPE program, once informed, the municipality would invoice the county, and the county, after which the county will disperse the funds directly to the municipality, not to the applicant. The municipality oversees the project, ensuring all terms and conditions are met. Then they disperse the funds to the applicants upon successful completion of the project. The municipality submits a status report, simple status reports, to the county once the project is underway and upon completion. There would be, for a quick, my apologies. Pardon me. Okay. The first intake period in January, going through till March, applications were referred by the municipalities. Upon success, they would be reviewed forwarded to the County of Renfrew review panel, again consisting of economic development and planning staff. And again, once we've approved them, they'll be passed back to the municipality. The HYPE program provides up to 50% matching funding or a matching grant to the municipality for eligible projects, with maximum limits depending on the program category. The total value of grants per property per year cannot exceed $15,000. Grants are available to property owners, authorized tenants, and not-for-profit organizations. For a quick overview of eligible projects, they can be for up to $7,500 for agriculture, including on-farm diversification projects. Up to $5,000 for accessibility enhancements. Up to $15,000 for new affordable housing development projects. Up to $5,000 for affordable housing improvement and energy efficiency projects. For brownfield remediation, there are two project streams. One, for brownfield remediation assistance, there is support for up to a maximum of $15,000. For two, for support for using a brownfield tax increment equivalent, this would be an exception to the normal approval process, requiring county council approval to move forward. For community and business improvements, there are a number of programs or a number of opportunities for funding. Facade and signage and property improvements. Funding depends on the nature of the projects. It could be up to $2,500 or $4,000 for signage and facade improvements. Like it'd be $2,500 for a single storefront. If you had a corner lot or multiple addresses within a building, then you could have up to $4,000. You could have up to $5,000 for eligible property improvements. You could have up to $10,000 for improvements for building restoration. Under the Climate Action Plan, for things like shoreline restoration projects involving natural vegetation and reparation areas, up to $10,000. And this specific grant is subject to the requirement that the applicable municipality has a bylaw in place for the protection of natural vegetation along shorelines in that municipality. For trail improvements, there's up to $10,000 available. As an overview, the DMP committee is proposing that So the DMP committee is, we're making a recommendation to the DMP committee to accept the HYPE program details and direct staff to proceed with an official plan amendment. For April 9th, we're requesting that County Council approves the recommendation to proceed. Within April and May, our hope is that the official plan application and public notice and agency circulation for May 28th, we're looking for public input received and DMP committee meeting at a DMP committee meeting for June 11th. We're hoping that the County Council considers adoption of official plan amendment, including amendment to delegation of authority bylaw number 98-24, authorizing staff the ability to approve projects under HYPE program following a 20-day appeal period. Thank you very much, Chair Brose and members of County Council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Waibu. Before opening it up to questions, I'm going to turn it over to Director Davis for some of his background as well.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, Mr. Waibu. And I think this is at a point now, very conceptual point, what I mentioned at County Council just, I guess, half an hour ago, where this is all-encompassing at this stage. We do have timeframes in place, especially for the official plan amendment and what needs to be done through, because of the Planning Act, we do need to go through this process, and it will take a long time. So some of the scenarios that Mr. Waibu went through about March and having intakes of all this nature, we'll kind of firm this up, and probably in 2026, we might have an intake if it gets done completely in 2025, late 2025. But this is just the first step. Again, repeating where this came from. This came from the concept and the request from our councillor from Arnprior about some affordable housing development, and then the further discussion what we can do to incentivize some housing initiatives and responding to CIPs or local CIPs. So what you see here is basically what we're planning on doing is stacking existing CIPs with local municipalities and having options to incentivize individuals through different programs, as you saw through David's presentation. So Chair, I'll leave it at that for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Questions or comments? Councillor from Town of Deep River.
Thank you, Chair. So just wanted to clarify a couple of things. One is, and I think Director Davis just said the word stacked. So within the CIP, we have programs, and I'll just use an example on storefront facade creation. So our CIP is a 50-50 program with either the tenant or the landlord, whichever it happens to be. So this stacks on top of that. So, and just to clarify that question, so could, well, I don't know, no, just answer the question, I guess.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. So I'll try and answer the question. So again, if our regional incentive program or the HYPE program has, at the final version, has facades as part of the program, yes, we can stack up to the certain amount in the actual program itself. So if your valuation is higher, or the amount you give as a CIP may not match what we have for the max amount, but it'll stack nonetheless of certain amounts.
Okay. Supplementary?
Yes, so just supplementary on that. So it's not meant to replace either party's funding. but it could be in addition to. So it couldn't be, yeah, okay, fair enough. My second question is similar around, and I'll use the example, same example, facade improvements on a strip mall. And if there was, and I was looking at it, there's the amount eligible for 1 unit, but if there was 6 units in a strip mall, all owned by one person, is that 6 separate units, or is it still only 1 unit?
Mr. Davis?
Through you, Chair. So for sure, getting in the weeds on the application and the program. I think once we have this flushed out, once we bring this back, the final version to this committee and county council, we'll have those answers that you're looking for those individual specific requests moving forward.
Thank you. Any questions from Greater Madawaska, then Petawawa and Arm Prior? And EB.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Not a question, but I just want to give Mr. Waibu an extra day that we actually don't have a council meeting on the June 11th anymore. It's now on the 12th. So you got an extra day there.
Thank you. Councillor from Town of Petawawa.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. I like this program. It's been working well in our municipality for a few years now. So I think it's good that the county's weighing in. And I wish I had the number of economic spin-offs that this created in Petawawa. I'm trying to find out. But it was quite significant in terms of all of the improvements that have been made and the contractors and the value of their work. It was quite significant. Just one question about the January 1st to the 3rd week in March. And I know as we have been doing this for a couple of years, I found that not many SIP contracts were awarded during that time period, just based on it's winter and not a lot of people are doing a lot of construction. And I can bring this back at a later date, but I know that most of our SIP contracts were awarded in the summer, late spring, and then there was a bit of a flurry of activity in the fall. And I'm pretty sure this year we've only awarded 1 between January 1st and March. So I'm just wondering about those dates and whether we can look at another way of doing this rather than getting all these municipalities to try and cram SIP grants awarded in that time period when it traditionally is not a busy time for that. So I'm not sure there was a question there, but just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Mr. Waibu?
Through you, Chair. We have been looking at an ongoing review process to accommodate just such things. The idea of having it in the first few months of the year was to give everybody an equal opportunity, or all municipalities an equal opportunity to submit applications. You know, I think most municipalities would find the same thing, that a lot of the work would be undertaken throughout the year. In our approval process, we're always going to be looking at trying to make sure that there's an equitable distribution of funds across the board, advancing every opportunity to make the most of the investment that we make. So any type of accommodations like that would be absolutely considered. And on an ongoing basis, as I said, we will review and decide what works and make further recommendations moving forward.
Supplementary.
Okay, thanks for that. And I understand this is all a draft and all of this is being reviewed. Just a question about the trail improvements, because that's a new one. And it mentions that a nonprofit entity can apply. But is this the type of SIP that the municipality itself could apply for? Because there's not a lot of trails being created by private entities or nonprofit entities.
Mr. Waibu.
So that was a topic of discussion, decided no. Not at this point.
And Councillor from Arm Prior.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo what the Councillor from Petawawa, for the time frame, most businesses in Arm Prior change hands in the summer, and of course they want to change the name of their company or their business, and that's when they ask for the facade to be changed. So if we can extend that application somehow. The second part is you have to be a property owner to apply for this CIP. And I'm thinking that people on the trail want to get i.e. Dan Lynch's excavating sign on the Algonquin Trail. I'm not allowed to make application for this CIP for that sign, correct?
Through you,
Mr. Waibu.
Through you, Chair. For any applications, again, it's not-for-profits, business entities, landlords, or property owners. The idea is to stimulate investment overall, community improvements overall. So every application will be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Again, with regard to the timing with changes in ownership and when people might want access to the funding, the first intake is trying to be fair to all, for municipalities to gather applications. After that period, if there's still funds available, they'd be on a case-by-case basis, continuing until funds are depleted. If we start to see, and again, if we get further direction that maybe we should delay that process, or the intake program, the first intake program, that can be looked at.
And Councillor from Edmonton Brumley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First question is, so this is the broad framework, and I think it is exceptional as the starting point, the jumping off point. I note that today we're accepting the program details. So the input from the public, and is that anticipated to be a public meeting on May 28th? And I'm assuming that also through the lower tiers in a written form, if there are any suggestions or contributions toward that, it is open for that as well. Is that correct? And written other than on that specific date from the public as well?
For the official plan, yes.
Okay. And ultimately then, so we're accepting it today, subject to whatever input we may receive that is going to be sifted and distilled and will be added to. So then the approval will come in June, correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct.
Okay. On some of the questions that were just happening vis-a-vis the timelines, I'm anticipating, because this is right across the county of Renfrew, these funds will probably dry up faster than the local CIPs will likely dry up as well. So it will be absolutely up to the discretion of the proponent that is seeking this. Do you wish to wait and put this at the top of the list, perhaps for the following year, et cetera, or do you wish to proceed now with funding that may be available at the local level? Certainly along with those lines is once you get past, once essentially you get into April or the last week of March, then it is wide open. It remains to be seen how quickly the uptake will be. Was it 8 communities now that currently have a CIP?
There are, through you, Chair, there are 7 active CIPs operating right now. Technically speaking, there are 9 communities that have a bylaw for community improvement plans.
Yeah, I'm in that latter group.
You are. Yeah.
That's probably going to change now. Ultimately, then the final question is: so there was budgeted $100,000 for 2015, but it's anticipated that the timelines are not going to allow us likely to get this kick-started in this year. Fingers crossed, possibly that would be. Would that be any monies that would be unused? Would they have a dedicated reserve then, as opposed to at the end of the year flowing through our surplus deficit policy?
Through you, Chair, and I'll for sure defer to Mr. Burke at the back, but typically we don't have reserves for...
This is being withdrawn from reserves.
Oh, yeah, sorry, thank you, CAO. So this is being drawn from reserves. So I guess it will just stay in the reserve account until used. Chair. And maybe I'll defer, if I could, Chair, with your latitude, to defer to Mr. Burke.
Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Director Davis, and through you, Chair. So in the current year, the 2025 year, the Community Improvement Plan's budget was to draw money from our Safe Restart Reserve, again, to use that COVID reserve. So if it does not, in fact, incur those expenses, the money would not be withdrawn from that reserve. And again, as the program moves forward, we'd have to think again about how we fund this permanently, and if it has we carry over unspent amounts and things like that. But for the current year, no, there's no carryovers.
Thank you.
Mr. Waibu.
No further comment. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Councillor from BV and Whitewater, and then Deep River.
Boy, Dave, you've done well. So just a few things, just to comment on some of my colleagues. We've had a CIP for 11 years now, And it seems that every year, at the end of the year, people apply for the following year funding so that they can get started in April, May, when the weather is nice, on their signage, and they can order their signage, speaking specifically to facade. Weirdly, like right now as our CIP sits in Bonachere Valley, we've already spent half of it for the year. That's how popular it is. So we don't have to worry about money going back into a reserve or not, because every year, almost every penny has been spent, which I think is it's amazing. I've already sent this, thank you to whomever sent it separately. I've already sent it to my CAO. I think it's going to be a game changer. I think this is a fantastic add-on to any of us that have CIPs. I do believe it's going to be an incentive. So I'm really excited about it. I'd love to see it implemented sooner rather than later, but in BV at least, we see those applications come in that October, November timeframe for the following year. So that might be something when we get to it that we encourage. That if you think of a project that you want to do for 2026, get your application in. They may not be looked at until February, March, but at least you're getting a jump on, on getting it in at least. Anyway, those are my comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor from Whitewater.
Thanks, Chair. I'll just echo her points. Excellent initiative, and thank you so much for taking the time to put this presentation together. I, too, have already forwarded it to staff. Worthwhile. 3 comments. Lower tiers that don't have a SIP right now, can you just offer some insight as to how complicated it is for them to have a SIP set up to be in effect for the end of June?
Through you, Chair. I can't necessarily attest to how complicated that would be, never having put one through myself, but we are looking at offering resources to help assist any municipality that's looking to try to engage and have a SIP. We would provide direction on where to go, how to go about it.
Supplementary.
Thank you. No, and I just want to throw it out there in recognition that there may be work for other municipalities. Community Futures, we talked about stacking with lower tiers. I know Community Futures is offering that stacking with SIPs that are currently existing. Would this also apply to that stacking? And then, Chair, I have one last question.
Through you, Chair, we have discussed with Community Futures, and they would be looking to continue to. What they do is they're providing a loan for the half that has to be procured or put in by the applicant themselves. So where the HYPE program, and in combination of the HYPE program and a local CIP, there's 50% of the funding for a project up to a maximum amount of money. The CFTC could contribute the other 50% as a loan to the applicant. Yeah. And yes, they're willing to do so.
Another perfect example of the partnerships, just like we saw earlier with Health Committee. This is excellent. Last question is just the approval, and I noticed that all but brownfield development is approved at the staff level. Can you just confirm what are the criteria? Like how is that process done at the staff level? Using strategic priorities of council? What are the kinds of factors that are going to go into where that money's spent and what areas of the community and what priorities? So,
through you, Chair, having not gone through the process yet, it's still a bit of a work in progress, but yes, it would be, the approval process would be through a combination of staff from both economic development and planning, and looking to make sure that any project would be a fit with our priorities overall for the County of Renfrew and the various strategic plans that we have, and with the amount of funds left over for the program. So the exact, there's 2 different streams with brownfield developments. They could go through a tax increment grant, or they could go through a direct funding grant. And again, we'd look at the potential of that property and what the contribution of the HYPE or CIP could do to help move a project forward, and that would be absolutely a consideration for approving or advancing that project.
Thank you. And Councillor from Deep River.
Thank you, Chair. The question that was asked earlier is specific around property ownership related to trails, but if the building is owned by the municipality, would it qualify?
I think we'd have to look at that on a circumstance basis. So if you had a building owned by a municipality but being leased by a business or a community group, then as a community group, under certain circumstances, I imagine they would qualify. But again, that would have to go through the committee or the panel, the review panel, to decide.
Thank you. And Councillor from Laurentian Hills.
Thank you, Chair. So it was mentioned by my colleague from Edmiston and Bromley about a bylaw. There are 2 municipalities with bylaws regarding CIPs.
Mr. Wybu?
Through you, Chair, through our research, I did identify 2 municipalities within the County of Renfrew that have bylaws for CIPs in place. In one case, it is not funded, so though they developed a bylaw, they did not actually put funding toward it. They did not budget for it. In the other case, again, there was no amount budgeted to cover the bylaw. They're looking at it on an ad hoc basis, but they do not promote it. There's no application form. It would just be a matter of a community member that was aware of it to reach out to the council to ask for permission to be able to go forward with it, and the council itself would have to approve and delegate how that would go forward.
So would they be eligible for this grant if you have a bylaw?
That's a question we're looking at right now. If they have a bylaw and they're moving the program forward, but they've done nothing to move the program to date, so conceptually, yes, they could put something forward, but it would depend on a council. So technically speaking, they would be eligible. But they've never done anything to move anything forward to this point. And it's not broadcast, it's not promoted, there's no application form, there's no word of it anywhere. So they would have to take another step really but any municipality that puts through a community improvement plan bylaw and funds it would be eligible.
Thank you.
Councillor from BV.
Thank you, Chair. That seems somewhat unfair to those of us that put in the time, the effort, the money, and waiting for MMAH to approve our CIPs. These are provincially approved. We don't just sit around our council table and say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I think that to my colleague's point, how difficult are they to do? They take time. And they have to be properly written, and the ministry could bounce it back to you and say, no, this is unacceptable. So I think that if you don't have one and you want to be part of this, you better get the ball in motion kind of now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor from Edmiston Bromley.
Thank you. Just to clarify, so if I'm understanding, Councillor Murphy was making the distinction of those that do not have a CIP. I am AB and Mr. Brumley. We did institute a community improvement plan when the Main Street funding became available a few years back. Those funds were used to fund our community improvement plan. So it has been static subsequent to that. But ultimately, so that I'm understanding, it is not contingent necessarily on the lower tier municipality funding, i.e. that it is only eligible if the lower tier is providing funding, but our CIP has to be the vehicle through which this can be delivered, correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct.
Okay,
and the HYPE program will not contribute to any project more than the municipality is contributing, and again, there are maximum with each category.
Supplementary.
So that's actually, so my assumption is incorrect then. It sounds like if the county will not provide more than my municipality, and my municipality is providing zero, then $1 is more than zero.
Mr. Wybu.
Through you, Chair, if there was an application for a community improvement grant through your municipality at the moment, and the municipality at Edmiston Bromley was not contributing to that, no, the county HYPE program would not be contributing. The county HYPE program would be supplementary to any existing CIP. So in essence, if you had a CIP that was a 50-50 granting program, in essence, what would happen is 25% would be coming from the County of Renfrew, 25% would be coming from the municipality. What it would do is it would double the amount of funds the municipality has to contribute to their CIP program.
As a supplementary, if I may, is that by statute or by discretion?
I'm sorry, I'm not following that question.
I.e., is that the only way that the county can participate, i.e., there is the enabling legislation, if you will, that is my approved community improvement plan. And if, in fact, my community improvement plan has the same detail as we've had, let's assuming that the details are approved as they are written. So if we incorporate that into our community improvement plan, does the province only allow the upper tier to participate if the lower tier is doing it? And the reason I'm asking this is because each one of us faces our own fiscal pressures, but the dollars that the county is providing are still levied in my community. Even if my community, my municipality is not levying for those dollars, my ratepayers are still contributing to that fund. So ultimately, if the province, well, if it's coming out of the county levy or if it's coming out of the county reserves, I will guarantee you that some of those dollars came out of Admast and Brumley. I think the last I checked, it was something like 8%, perhaps 5%. Of the county levy is raised in the township of Admast and Brumley. So if they are levy dollars that are being used to fund the county's CIP, then my ratepayers are contributing to that. Now, if the province mandates that it has to match, then I'm certainly going to abide by that. But outside of that, I'm troubled if in fact funds are raised in my community that we are ineligible to spend in my community.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And through you, again, not to reiterate, but I will reiterate, just we're at a level now where this is going to be pushed out to local municipalities for feedback. And for examples, everyone has given really good information back to us already, including the clarity we need to have discussions with your municipalities, what the funding amounts could or may be for your CIP or for your local CIPs in relation to our HYPE program. So I think we could leave it at that. It's a good starting point, as you mentioned before, Mayor Donahue. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? I'm seeing none, so once again, thank you, Mr. Waibu, for a great presentation, and we'll look forward to moving this forward.
Thank you again, Chair, members of council.
So we'll move on to the consent reports, and we have the report submitted by Councillor Service on the Ottawa Valley Forest Inc. Annual Work Schedule, the Algonquin Park Forest Annual Report, and the Silviculture Effectiveness Monitoring Update. And Mr. Service, is there anything you wanted to add?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I know everybody's been anxiously awaiting the forest reports for the year. So I'll make this brief, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. So the AFA and the Ottawa Valley Forest have put out their annual work schedule. And just some of the highlights, the Ottawa Valley is going to plant 400,000 trees. The Algonquin Forest Authority, 800,000 trees. That is their goal for the 2025-2026 work year. Just to point some, for clarity, there's a lot of talk in these reports about available harvest areas and actual harvest, and you'll notice that it's sometimes less than 50%. And that's just due to the availability of contractors and also market pressures as well. There is something I would like to point out, that another mill did shut down in Temiskaming, so now there's only one mill in Temiskaming that'll accept pulp. And add that to Thunder Bay and Dryden, which Renfrew County really doesn't have access to. There is a mill in Quebec, Maniwaki, that is accepting pulpwood, and one in Windsor, Quebec. But the one in Windsor is a 14-hour drive away. And from the discussions we had, if you're a logging industry here in Renfrew County and you want to transport your pulpwood to Windsor, you'll do so at a loss. It's just too far away. There is, Windsor does make available kind of like a halfway point somewhere in Quebec that Renfrew County loggers can drop their pulpwood off at a yard and it'll be picked up there, but you're getting 60 cents on the dollar. So for now, Temiskaming is it, unless you want to transport it to Windsor at a loss. Other than that, I will point out that there's often a bridging comment used in there, and bridging is just unused harvested area from previous years. And they'll continue to harvest that in future years as well. That's what the bridging means. Other than that, if anybody, we did talk about the tariffs and the effects that the tariffs may have on the local lumber industry. and it was not as doom and gloom as you might seem, but it's still open for debate depending on when and if those tariffs are put in place to see what the effects will be on our local lumber industry. Other than that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Service. Any comments or questions? Councillor from AB and then the warden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you through you to Councillor Service. I was, in fact, this is on my calendar of events that we have at Council. So I'm always looking forward to these because I think the health of our forest industry is certainly a large player in economic development within the county of Renfrew. Off the top, and not being flip, but I'm suggesting the doom may not be there, but I cannot expect that there's not gloom within any sector within the province. I just wanted to note, I think it was you had sent out, or on your behalf, that was sent out a map, but it does seem that that's page 10 of this report. Is that correct? Okay, no, and I just wanted to, and as I'm scrolling through as you're doing the presentation as well, I do see that there is the full legend, because there's a lot of colors and markings on that map that are quite intriguing. So most appreciative of this. Thank you.
And the warden.
Okay.
Thank you. I had attended both meetings, and just the information and the quality of information and the discussion was, to overuse the word phenomenal. I learned a lot. Also very appreciative of the effort of Councillor Service. He's very well informed and extremely well received by the two groups. And so he's not, sometimes we have members that are just members and they're there, but he's an active and participating member, so just wanted to say thank you. I will try and drop in on other committees throughout the year as well, that external ones, just to see what's going on. But this was my first one, so if everybody else works as hard as Gary does, we're in good shape, so thank you.
Thank you, and Mr. Service, you had some comments to follow up.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, shucks. Thanks, Warden. I do try my best. And just to comment on my colleague Fred Madmaster and Bromley in terms of the maps, there is a good website at the MNR, and if you go there and click on the annual work schedules for either the AFA or the Ottawa Valley Forestry, it's a much more detailed account of everything that's going on in both of those forestry areas. And I will add one comment on the doom and the gloom. I'll just give you one example for the red pine. So in southern and southwestern Ontario, a lot of the red pine that they access comes from Michigan. And if the tariffs are put in place and that makes those red pine logs more expensive, it may actually open up more markets for Renfrew County logging companies. So that was why it's not so much doom and gloom, but again, it's all open for debate in terms of when and if these tariffs are actually put in place.
Councillor from Edmonton, Bromley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. There was one comment I wanted to make that I was remiss in the initial phase. So it sounds like the Ottawa Valley Forest Association is experiencing the same thing that Ms. Rose is reporting on here, both availability of harvester contractors and markets are a significant determinant on how much of the annual work schedule is going to be achieved. So it seems like that's pretty much a broad trend in the sector. I'm kind of curious, of course, tariffs will be the elephant in the room, but in this annual reporting and development of the work schedules, is there a discussion of the outlook, of the general outlook of the industry?
Mr. Service.
I can give you a synopsis of just based on the individuals that were there. So at each of the meetings, there were two individuals who are from the lumber industry. And it would depend on what type of operation they are serving. Some of them would serve more a pulp mill, some of them would be more of a sawmill. But in terms of a future forecast, there wasn't a lot that anybody could put their finger on because there is so many unknowns. And that's really all that came out of both of those meetings, is that it's more a wait and see, and in terms of the tariffs and what effect they will have.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, there was another report that was sent out via email by Councillor Lynch. And Councillor Lynch, would you like to give a verbal update?
Thank you, Chair. On the 20th of March, we attended the Environmental Stewardship Council at the Best Western, and the highlights included the presenters were Jack Craig, President CEO, on a CNL update. George Dolinar, Corporate Director, gave a quarterly environmental performance. Mona Steedman gave an environmental remediation report. And Karen High of AECL, Director of Strategic Plans, Federal Nuclear Science and Technology, gave a work plan and note their budget is $3.1 billion over 11 years. Matt Bond, an environmentalist biologist, gave a study of all fishes and radionuclides in the Great Lakes and the Ottawa River basins. Due to the upcoming election, there will be no news releases from CNL. The transition team for AECL will commence in May and should be in place for September 2025. No change in the mission at CNL. Storage at CNL will now include fusion, batteries, hydrogen, and other clean technology, and they're asking people within the county if they've got clean disposal or clean materials that they want to get rid of, then they can contact the CNL to process that. And in late 2024, Acidium-225, a cancer mediation drug provided by CNL to a German company, has produced it and is now being distributed for testing. So good news for cancer people. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Lynch. Any comments on Mr. Lynch's report? I see none. So we will move forward with the Development and Property Committee consent reports, and I'm pleased to, sorry, I was looking to see if I needed that. Okay, my apologies. I was checking for that. So I need a mover to accept the consent reports as presented. No? Evelyn's correcting me?
We haven't overviewed the DNP consent report. You just need to advise that it's in their package and if there was any questions.
Okay. I think we have it. I think we have it down pat now. So we'll move forward with the development property report. And I will say that we're pleased to have at the back of the room with us today Sydney Kuno, who has joined the GIS staff, and very pleased that she comes from Renfrew County and I believe originally from Eganville, is that correct? And has an experience as a GIS technician with Ducks Unlimited Canada and has worked with the Ministry of Natural Resources in Pembroke. So welcome, Sydney. Pleased to have you and look forward to getting you certainly involved in the work that the GIS team has been, I guess, been holding on to until the role has been filled. So welcome aboard. So moving on through the consent report items, we have the Think Local campaign, the Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities, the Employer Pulse Survey, and the Forestry Communications Update. Are there questions on any one of those consent reports from Council? Councillor from Edmundston Bromley.
Sorry, beg your pardon, Mr. Chair. Are you on B or on A? B? Okay, so I just wanted to, and the report is quite plain. I'm pleased actually that within the body of the report on the Ontario Land Tribunal, or am I perhaps jumping up in front of the director? I will reserve my comments.
Thank you.
If I could, Chair, so through you, so we're not quite there yet through the Chair. The Chair was just going through the first number of items, and then I think the OLT is coming up shortly. Correct, Chair?
That's correct, yes. So, comments on the, sorry. Councillor from Whitewater.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank staff for the presentation they made to the Whitewater Council. March 19th, Lacey came down and gave us a great presentation on forestry specific to Whitewater region, and much appreciated.
Thank you for that. So were there any questions on the Canadian Association of Nuclear Host Communities? The Employer Pulse Survey? The Forestry Communications Update? I think Councillor Service did a great job on that. The Harvest and Renewal on Renfrew County Forest? The upcoming forestry tour for elected officials? Great idea. I think I certainly look forward to this, but I'm not going to bring my work boots and my shovel to plant trees. I'll leave that to the mayor from Bossier Valley. And that brings us to the Ontario Land Tribunals. And Councillor from Edmonton Bromley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just was pleased that within the body of the report, and in fact within the adjudicators' report as well, once again confirmation not just that the County of Renfrew as a planning agency has the authority on private lands in addition to public lands, probably less so on public lands actually, but it's not that it simply has the authority to do so, it has actually the obligation to do so. We are compelled and required to do those things that we are doing, and I'm not entirely certain whether this will have any more be of any more compelling guidance to those that are constantly suggesting that there is no authority on private lands. It is there. It has been clear through several adjudications, right back to, I believe, Section 92 of the former BNA Constitution Act does provide that governance of land issues is a provincial matter and has been delegated to us as a municipality of the province. So I'm pleased, nonetheless, that that was confirmed within this, and ultimately, hopefully, it does begin to diminish some of the pushback. Thank you.
Thank you. And are there any questions on this or any other remaining items in the consent report? I'm seeing none. So now I'll need a mover to accept the consent reports. Moved by Councillor from Laurentian Hills, seconded by Councillor from McNabb Braeside. Any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So that brings us to our discussion reports and our resolutions, and I will, the first one is regarding Ottawa Valley Tourist Association draft budget, and I will turn that over to Director David.
Thank you again, Chair. So item number one on the discussion items under resolutions, 2025 Ottawa Valley Tourist Association draft budget. I'll read the recommendation, Chair, that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council adopt the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association draft 2025 budget as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor from Greater Madawaska, seconded by Councillor from Head, Clare and Mariah. And background, please, Mr.
Thank you again, Chair. So in your committee package, you will have the budget items for the OVTA for 2025. And draw your attention, if you are looking at that page, some new line items regarding the MAT, the municipal accommodation tax, both for the city of Pembroke and the town of Petawawa. So those are just estimate numbers of what the income from the tax will be be to OVTA and what they're going to spend on. So you'll see an in and out in that kind of draft item. And so nothing has substantially changed since 2024 except for that MAT discussion. So Chair, again, this is part of our process that was approved by the board, approved by the City of Pembroke, and now in front of you for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Councillor from Edmonton Bromley.
Just on spec, it's probably a good idea to look to your left. And I'm uncertain if this is so. Is the OVTA budget, is it predicated on the final levy, or does it have any relationship at all with the levy that the county approves?
Mr. Davis? Or Mr.
Somebody.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll take this one. The agreement with the OVTA is actually tied to the increase in county levy. So the agreement has a baseline year, and then it will increase at the same rate as the county budget, is how it's structured.
Okay. A little more words. Is it ultimately, so this year was it 5.65? So whatever our levy increase percentage is applies to the OVTA, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it is actually whatever our levy increase target is applies to the OVTA. So it's 3.25 this year.
Okay, so it is the target, not the actual. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried. Next item is the Shared Immigration and Settlement Services for Lanark and Renfrew counties. And Mr. Davis, back to you.
Thank you again. So the recommendation in front of you is that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council direct staff to budget $45,000 in the 2026 Economic Development budget to cover the funding shortfall for the staffing of the new Shared Immigration and Settlement Services program for Lanark and Renfrew counties.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor from Arnprior, seconded by the Warden. And background, Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Chair. And so a bit of a background in the sense of when we applied for this grant opportunity through the IRCC, at the time for the grant, it was a 5-year grant opportunity for us, up to 5 staff. At the time, it was to be said, fully funded through IRCC. And what you see in front of you as the background package, due to the change of the federal government, due to the change of immigration inputs from the federal government, they've decided to reduce the number of staffing from 5 to 3. Reduce the amount from 5 years to 3 years, and then reduce the amount of, instead of 100% coverage, as you see, or what we're talking about, we do have some funds to support this program. We know this program is much needed both in Renfrew County and Lanark County for immigrants to be in this county of Renfrew to help support them. I think the challenge for us is we didn't budget for this. During our budget cycle, we didn't know about this. We couldn't plan for something we don't know about. But we're at a point now where Lanark County is willing to upfront the first year of the 2025-2026 budget for this grant opportunity to start this program going through the 3 staff members. And then they're looking for a commitment from the County of Renfrew for the 2026-2027 budget cycle to support this program. I do have Melissa Marquardt, if needed, for any other further questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Questions or comments? The Warden.
Thank you. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I believe that part of this program was to develop, I'll use the word template, to develop a template on operating manual or kit for local municipalities, so that they could put their own package together for welcoming and, in fact, recruiting immigrants to our communities. That way, we wouldn't have to spend money and duplicate efforts. Am I correct in remembering this?
Mr. Davis?
Warden, I would never say you're wrong.
I would.
But
I would in a minute.
But I think through this program, I think what we could do, though, is once this program is in place, once we have the information available to us, what this program will look like, we'll then support and supply it to local municipalities. I think it's still, again, like the HYPE program, a work in progress as we move forward.
Okay.
Supplementary?
Yes, thank you. And so further to that, whatever it ends up being, seriously, we are probably 10 years behind a lot of other communities. And when you look at some of the rural communities like Bruce County and Grey County, who are similar to us in the composition of rural and small urban, they've had programs on the ground quite successfully for probably the last 8 years or so. So it's a very necessary program when we look at our future. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor from Edmiston Brumley, and then Town of Petawawa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm just kind of curious. I recognize that in scaling this back from a 5-year to a 3-year program, of course, we would anticipate reduced funding. I'm a little bit surprised, though. I'm perhaps through you to Mr. Davis. I guess the question is, when the program was applied to, was the expectation that it was fully funded, i.e., that there would be no local municipal levy contribution towards this?
Mr. Davis?
Through you, Chair. So that was the intent of this application. So again, I'll defer to Melissa, but I know for the discussion I've had with Melissa and with Lanark County, that was the intent.
Okay, and if I could push just a little bit farther, like further the intent, was it clearly part of the application, the intake documents that provided the guidance on the program? Was that quite clearly articulated that this would not require property tax levy?
Ms. Markwood?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone, and through you. I would have to go back. I can't tell you off the top of my head what the application guideline said at the time, and Lanark County was the lead on the application. What I can share is at the time of when the call out for submissions was sent out by IRCC, the immigration levels at the federal level were different, and then they changed the immigration levels through the course of the intake and application program. And so when we received our approval in January, or notification in January of this year, we were just notified this is what you're being offered for 3 years at this funding. There was no explanation or rationale. We just know that it was tied to the change in the immigration levels.
Supplementary?
Yeah, supplementary and final then. So the wording of this actually is that we don't anticipate, given the claims process of being able to claim. So has that element changed? Ultimately, what I am reading when I read that is that we understand what it is going to take to operate this program, and some of the things that we know we are going to incur costs on are now ineligible for compensation. Has that changed?
Mr. Davis?
Yeah, I think we may have to come back to you if we could and have time to review the actual application and bring it back to the next committee.
That is quite satisfactory. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Oh, yes, Councillor from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair. Don't forget me. I have to agree with Director Davis and the importance of this program and the fact that we should support it with any funding that we can. I think in light of what's going on south of the border, we're going to see an increase of people coming to Renfrew County, and I think we need to be prepared, and this program will definitely help us. Just speaking on behalf of my community, Petawawa, we've seen a lot of influx of people from around the world. Last year there were 6 individuals who came from the Philippines and who have all settled in and are all working. Last November, there was a family of 4 from a refugee camp in Jordan. They're Syrian. There's 7 more coming in about 6 weeks, and another family of 6 Syrian refugees from a refugee camp in Jordan will be here before the end of the year. These programs help support them. My question is, this is the Shared Immigration and Settlement Services. Is that the same as the LIP, the Local Immigration Partnership? Are they together? Is it separate?
Ms. Markwood?
Thank you, and through you. No, so there are defined roles and responsibilities for the local immigration partnership group. While they are funded, do receive funding from IRCC, their mandate is a little bit different. And for the shared settlement services that we are setting up here, there are defined activities that we must undertake and define targets and things like that. So it will be different. The idea with the shared settlement services is this will be the starting point for all newcomers and immigrants who are here in Canada. Because right now, without having those services here, it's a little bit dissected, and individuals are going to various volunteer groups, libraries, community organizations. So the idea with the shared settlement services, it creates a one-stop shop, if you will, for newcomers and being able to provide all those services too.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Chair. And if I could just add one thing, the biggest barrier that I'm seeing with a lot of the newcomers is the language and the lack of language training available to them. What little there is available is during the day, and a lot of them need to work to support their families and can't go get this language training during the day. So if there was any way for us to advocate through both of these entities here to get more language training, and if there could be some in the evenings, I think that would really benefit a lot of these newcomers in terms of getting them prepared to have employment here when they come to Renfrew County.
I'll turn to Ms. Markwood because I understand that at one point the local immigration partnership did provide English as a second language training for individuals where a representative from Algonquin College would go right into individuals or families' homes to provide some, but I'll turn that to Ms. Markwood.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, so as I mentioned, there are a number of organizations, not-for-profit groups, volunteer groups that are providing language service training right now. And again, it comes at different levels. It could be in person, it could be during the day, it could be in the evening. We recognize that those language training and a lot of the courses being provided during the day come at a conflict because those newcomers are also trying to establish jobs and do all of the things. So with part of those shared settlement services is looking at the appropriate times of when we can deliver those programs, including conversation circles, which is what they're called, where they bring newcomers together in circles basically to have conversations to learn English as a second language. So that'll be part of the programming for the settlement services.
Thank you. And Councillor from Edmonton Bromley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This is more generalized on the overall program, and certainly in parallel with the local immigration partnership. I think it is vital that we are reaching out, and we have organized a process for immigration, because you're probably going to be, if you have not already become aware, you're going to become aware that one of the things that is trying to get traction in our federal election is that there is this crazy notion of trying to get to 100 million population in Canada by the year 2100. I just wanted to let everyone know that our population, annual rate of increase to our population in Canada between 1950 and 2025 is 1.49%. If, in fact, we project that out to the year 2100 at that same rate, we will have a population of 121 million. In fact, if our rate of growth goes down to 1.23 from its current 1.49, we will hit 100 million. So the entire trajectory that the country of Canada has had with our immigration, it's important to note context when one is confronted with information and to be able to process that. So in fact, our rate of growth, our population doubled in Canada between 1967 and today. It's important to know these things. We need immigration.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Okay. At that point, then, I will call for the vote. All in favor? And that's carried. The next item, then, is the Helping Your Place Excel program, the HYPE program. And I'll turn to Mr. Davis for the recommendation.
Thank you again, Chair. So the recommendation, and as discussed and presented by David Wybu, that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council receive and accept the Helping Your Place Excel or HYPE program details for consultation and provide direction to staff to proceed with amending the county official County of Renfrew official plan to permit the County of Renfrew to provide grants and/or loans to support local community improvement plan initiatives.
You've heard the recommendation, and I have a mover from the town of Boncher Valley. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by the councillor from Edmundston Brumley. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And back to you, Mr. Davis, for the tariff response plan.
Yeah, thank you again, Chair. And this is the last item under discussion items. Item number 4, tariff response plan, and the recommendation that the Development and Property Committee recommends to County Council that Schedule D, Local Benefit to Counties Procurement Policy GA01 be approved.
Thank you. Can I get a mover? Moved by councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty and Richards, seconded by councillor from McNabb Braeside. Background, please.
Yeah, and thank you, Chair. And this is heavy lifting both on our CAO and Daniel Burke's part, moving this forward just to get this in front of you for discussion and debate. So as a reminder, on March 12th, at the County Council meeting, a resolution was passed that included direction to review the County of Renfrew procurement options. So that's where the direction was, to look at this. And what you have in your committee package under Schedule D is a way to really look at and how we look at communities, local businesses, whether it's the provincial businesses, as you see in the committee package, an Ontario business or a Canadian business. And what this was taken from, and I don't mind saying this, and I'm sure CAO Kelly will collaborate with me on this one, where we looked at the County of Peterborough's procurement policy. It was vetted through their legal counsel. And so again, yes, we do a lot of leading things, but we also look at other individuals and other organizations that have the same similar policy. So when you see in the Schedule D of your committee package as the appendice, a tiered approach. We're looking at local, provincial first during our procurement process. If it's over a threshold, the staff will look at how we're going to kind of quantify what this means in the high level or high expenses, and then at the lower level, beneath a certain threshold of $10,000, we'll try at our best to buy local and our Canadian and/or our other trade partners. Maybe I'll lean over to our. No, I think we're good then to see if there's any questions or concerns.
Councillor from Boncher Valley.
Thank you, Chair. You shouldn't have told us, because I've got to tell you, when I read this, I thought they must have been working on it long before we passed that resolution, knowing that a resolution was eventually, oh, okay, you were. Very impressive work. I think that it's going to be heavy lifting doing this. I think there are going to be growing pains, much like our changes in procedure here. You even mentioned sending a staff member out to source something locally as opposed to ordering it. I think that there are going to be changes in the organization, but I applaud this. I think that this is also going to be a living document. It will have to sort of grow as we learn more and more and more, as more companies reveal, hey, we are Canadian, we are an Ontario company, please use us. We haven't been amazing at promoting ourselves. I think that now we are. So I do think that this is a living document, but kudos to everybody that had their hand in this. I think we have to use this as a jump off and see where we go in the next few months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty Richards, and then Edmundston Brumley.
Thank you, Chair. Just curious, would it be of any benefit to us to have a separate line in our accounting function in regards to the actual cost of a tariff?
Mr. Davis or Mr. Burke?
Through you, Chair, myself and my peers in our other upper-tier municipalities have considered this. We are attempting to quantify any tariff costs should we experience them, in the expectation that there will be an offset funding provided from some level of government. So we're thinking about this and how we could go about it. Haven't quite settled on a way to do this yet as a line item, or how we're going to extract this extra cost, but it's certainly on our plate to look for.
Supplementary?
I know we probably would have thought about it during the budget process, But I think it would be really interesting to know what the bottom line effect would be at the end of the year, and so that it doesn't distort our budget process.
Mr. Kelly.
No, thank you, and through you, Chair. So you're going to start hearing about those effects in today's operations. Yeah, it's in today's snowplow. Snowplows today? No. So we're starting to see as Mr. Perkins starts to tender for large vehicles, for example, some of those manufacturers are already starting to come back with tariff-related pricing, especially on snowplows and vehicles and everything else. So we're starting to see that. You'll likely see either staff not move forward with those purchases because they're essentially doubling. You know, trucks have doubled in price, for example, or not, or bringing that recommendation forward at least to you. So you're starting to see that, but it's just starting to roll out because the tariffs for steel were just launched 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and those effects are just being rolled out now. We may or may not see tariffs on April 2nd. We hear different language being, well, as we all hear on a regular basis. Who knows what the president is going to inflict upon us on April 2nd? So as procurement goes along, we'll try to inform you as best as we can as is the effect of a tariff or an increased price on that purchasability.
Thank you, and Councillor from Edmonton Brumley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to comment on Mr. Kelly's final comment. The thing that I find most discomforting is that who knows what's coming, I think could be said also of the President of the United States. And I'm not entirely sure that the morning of the 2nd of April, the decision may be made whether, in fact, those tariffs may go forward or not. I certainly commend Mr. Burke and his group. That is a gargantuan task. I dare say that the Canada Revenue Agency and Stats Can and the Conference Board of Canada might be challenged to be able to divine what the costs are going to be, because I think we can't even anticipate what the secondary and tertiary impacts might come of this. I know from my own business of cattle, what I would expect is if, in fact, these economy-wide tariffs come into play, given that the U.S. greenback is the international currency of trade, you can be certain that our dollar will diminish in value. If our dollar diminishes in value by 10%, it takes 10 points off of the 25% tariff. Now it becomes a 15% tariff. Even looking at, I had open, and this is where I'm getting to my own question, but on the collaborative approaches, there was one here: support the Ontario Restaurant, Hotel and Motel Association's lobbying efforts to bring back the staycation tax credit. I'm certainly in favor of that. I would say that the United States of America will do more to incentivize staycations than we will. When you have a 25% increase, even if it is offset by the exchange rate, it is still going to be much more expensive for anyone to even contemplate travel to the United States, even if they are not persuaded from a nationalistic perspective to not do so. In any event, my question particularly on this, and this is on the collaborative approaches, there's a bullet here, 1, 2, 3, it's the fourth bullet. This is on page 134. Lobby for utility cost savings for businesses to offset tariff financial impacts. Are we talking about like electricity and natural gas? What sort of utilities are anticipated on that bullet?
That is through you, Chair, that is the intent, yes, for utilities of gas and transmission electricity.
So I'm assuming for the cost savings, as opposed to asking private industry to take a lower profit margin, we're probably talking about governmental support to subsidize the cost of those. Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor from Whitewater.
Thanks, Chair. An excellent reaction, and I appreciate all the work that's gone behind the scenes to prepare this. And I noticed that in their report, there's already been the engagement with lower tier CAOs. I think that's excellent, that we can have a unified approach to this across all 17 municipalities, and I'm assuming Pembroke has been offered the same to be included as well. One of the discussion points that came up, and I noticed it was in the summary brief, was about that interprovincial trade. And although not directly related to tariffs, I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to really examine the impact, especially being on the border and being so closely linked with Quebec and a lot of the residents that live in Quebec, but either work or shop and spend their money here in Renfrew County. Can we get more information? How are we approaching that? I noticed the report says just advocacy. Is there areas, are there levers we can pull, or is this purely for us to take input and pass it on to some other organization?
Mr. Davis or Mr. Kelly?
If I may, I'll take a stab at this one. This one is a challenging one. We do know the premiers are talking about the interprovincial trade, and as of this morning. And we do know this, but at this level, at the county level, at the staff level, it's a challenge. We'll lean into the warden as a spokesman for Renfrew County. We'll lean into the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus as they move forward to some of their initiatives. So, and I think I will just lean into a little bit to our CAO, just in case he has more information than I have at this stage.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and through you. So our economic development team is astutely aware of our relationship with the province and had made note of this. In some of the background when we chatted about this, obviously as a child of the province, and our direct advocacy is to the province and not to the Quebec. The Ontario, in terms of the hierarchy that Mr. Davis talked about, it's Ontario. I hate to use the Ontario first language because it just seems argumentative, but it's Ontario as our local businesses, Canada meaning interprovincial. I mean, we understand that Quebec is right there as well. So we do have a relationship with, the warden has a relationship with the warden of Pontiac. Our economic development team has a relationship with not the FRC, with the MRC, gosh, yeah, with the MRC as well. So I'm sure we'll be in constant contact. Even our friends at Community Futures and many of our OVED partners have relationships across the border. So we'll keep that in mind, of course, moving forward. We definitely understand the direct relationship with Quebec.
Thank you. And the warden, please.
Thank you. And just to add to that a little bit too, we are through Ms. Marquardt and her staff and the director in fairly constant contact with our industry partners here in the county, and they're also embarking on some surveys, and part of that will be gathering information as to new opportunities potentially, or opportunities that have been closed, and then we can use that information as we try and track down Minister Fedeli for one, and probably Minister Bethlyn Falvey. And then as the federal picture becomes clearer, I think we're close enough to Ottawa, and I have been on Parliament Hill a few times in the past, formally and informally, and I think we'll do that again as well to ensure that our information is received.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And at this point now, I'll need a mover and a seconder to adopt the reports as a whole. Moved by Councillor from Petawawa, second by Councillor from Head, Clare, and Mariah. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have no deferred reports at this time. Are there any verbal reports? Seeing none, is there any new or other business? Seeing none, then the next regular meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. And I'll need a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Moved by Councillor from Laurentian Hills, seconded by Councillor from Greater Madawaska. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. So we will now be breaking for lunch, and we will return at 12:45.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Operations Committee of the Whole meeting for March 26th, 2025 to order. Has roll call been taken?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for the adoption of the minutes. Operations Committee, February 26th, 2025 minutes. Recommendation that the minutes of the February 26th, 2025 meeting be approved. Moved by the member from Greater Madawaska, seconded by the member from Arnprior. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that is carried. There's no delegations or presentations listed. Communications, you'll see 2 items of communications. Is there any questions on item A, the Ministry of Natural Resources, with respect to the watershed condition statement? And item B, the letter with the results of our application for Rural Transit Solution Funding. That application was for, I think it was for planning, so there'll be other opportunities for that. So, seeing none, can I get a mover to accept the communications? Moved by the member from Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards, seconded by the member from Laurentian Hills. All those in favor? And that is carried. Now we'll move on to the consent reports. And I'm just going to so item number 1, capital variance report. Item number 2, the significant weather events. Item number 3, the spring load restrictions. Item 4, the bylaw enforcement on the recreation trails. Item number 5, the items that were approved under delegated authority. Just for slight information, the first one, the tender for award for the stockpiling of limestone crusher dust for Algonquin Trail. When we did the development budget for the Algonquin Trail, it was one lump sum of $2.5 million, and it wasn't itemized. But the estimate for the crusher dust was $870,000, so this came in under that. So it was approved under the delegated authority, and then you'll see the other ones that are listed there. That was item A. Item B, the second one, Trans-Canada Trail Extension Program. We were successful in a grant of $40,000 to do design work for the Bissett Creek Overpass. Item C, the Brooms Creek Culvert. And D, County Road 52, Burnstown Road. Some of the numbers are a little confusing, so I just wanted to clarify that. The tender award of $2,327,400 listed there includes the enhancement of the adding the fiber into the pavement. So it included that, and then also included in that tender was the county structure 330 with McLeod's culvert, which was 118. So when we add all of those up, when we take out the 116 out of the tender price of $2,327,000 and add in the 118, we get to the number of $2,443,572, which comes in at $12,000 under budget. So that was awarded under the delegated authority also. And then we move on to I don't know what we move on to next. I'll keep going, don't worry. Stupid thing. So the program variance report we did.
I just had a question, maybe while you're looking for that on the Bissett Creek overpass. I'm just curious. I know there was always some discussion about whose responsibility, whether that was MTO or county, and I'm just wondering if there's been any clarification on that, or is it still kind of up in the air?
So the clarification is that the county owns the structure. So. Okay, so capital variance, design overpass, Firstown Road. So is there anything further on the consent reports? Member from Greater Madawaska.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Item number 4, bylaw enforcement summary. I'm just wondering, within that summary, we have persons charged. We list their full name, their addresses, and phone numbers. I'm just wondering, are we able to maybe in the future redact all that personal information about the people, because we're giving home address, phone numbers, and everything, and date of birth?
Mr. Kelly.
We can absolutely do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's a good idea for sure. So, did I ask for a mover and seconder for the consent?
Sorry, Chair, I just wanted to clarify if I could. I'm looking at my report. So where do you note those?
So in the Excel spreadsheet,
I see.
It has all that personal information, right down date of birth, address, phone number, and everything.
Number 18, CAO.
Everything that would be in a police report.
I'm just off the paper version, so I don't see it on the paper version for some reason. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is there. In one case, for sure.
Yeah, there's a few in there. Item 17 is the first one I see with it. Thank you.
Okay, did I get a mover and seconder for the consent reports? No. Can I get a mover and seconder to accept the consent reports? Moved by the member from Bonisher Valley, seconded by the member from North Algona Wilberforce. Any further questions on any of the items? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that is carried. We'll move on to discussion reports. And I will pass this over to the director, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, committee, and through you to committee. Item 1 here is the 2025 Recreational Trail Works Plans and Budget. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee approve the 2025 work plans as presented for the Algonquin Trail and the KMP Recreational Trail.
Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from Arnprior, seconded by the member from Head Clare-Mariah. And some background, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Basically, the approved 2025 budget also includes $2.5 million for the Algonquin Trail development, which includes allocations for active transportation fund for completion of the Algonquin Trail to Bissett Creek, and additionally, the capital portion of the 2025 budget includes funds for the following capital projects on the recreational trail infrastructure. So they've identified $200,000 to replace the bridge at Jeffries Creek. They want to do some engineering on at the Bissett Creek overpass, do some more engineering on Madawaska River, legal and Ontario land surveys for Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, so that's our partners with the KMP, so that's $30,000 identified there, and legal fees for Canadian National Transfers, $10,000. And then there is a complete breakdown of what their plan is for the entire summer, hopefully, if all goes well. They did have a small caveat there that said they may have some outside influences on the work plans, so we will keep you apprised if anything changes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And further, the committee asked that moving forward, that there would be basically part of the asset management plan, that we would see a more detailed budget. And then we would also see, when we look at the work plan, we'll see previous year and current year, so we'll see what the difference is moving forward. So, any questions? Member from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Just a question about the enforcement budgeted amount there for $18,200. Is that the same as last year, more or less? And in light of the detailed report we got that would seem to indicate having enforcement on the trail was effective in ending some of the behaviors that we don't want on there, do we want to increase that enforcement level, or are we happy with what we've got?
So, and that's kind of why we asked for previous year over current year budget, which we don't have those numbers. I think this number reflects something similar to what the actuals were for 2023, 2020, what are we? 2025, for 2024, sorry. Does that work for now? Mr. Perkins?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. So right now, that 18,000 is covering 3 patrols a week. So what happens is we've hired a private security firm to do enforcement for us along the Algonquin and the KMP Trail, and again, they do it 3 times a week. I can't remember what the hours are, but they do it during peak hours. We are indeed seeing a significant improvement in behavior. Even, just anecdotally from the residents along the trails, they do share with us their grief occasionally. So we are seeing some stuff, but yes, we would definitely be open to an idea of increasing patrols if you wanted to do that. But right now, we're finding that the 3 days a week seems to be working for us, because they usually do it on a weekend, or depending on, well, once the weather gets better too, then they spread it out over the weekdays.
More detailed than I gave you, but about the same thing. Where am I going? Member from Whitewater.
Thanks, Chair. Just a question about the work plans and budget. Does this include any work being planned or funded through other users like the ATV clubs or the snowmobile clubs? Or is that separate? Or is it just not being done anymore?
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. No, that is a separate entity altogether. We do the work. Sometimes the snowmobile club has assisted us. For example, we did a crossing up near Rofton where they helped us with some funding. But essentially, no, we don't. We go ahead and do our own maintenance. They will contribute on some projects if they get grant funding.
And typically, those would be a capital project. Yeah, so. Just back up. I just noticed one of my notes on the enforcement spreadsheet that we have on item 24. It's listed as Renfrew. It's actually more. They may have started in Renfrew, but it's more representative of Pembroke. So it was a typo there. So.
Sorry, I've got better information. Just a clarification. We did increase our patrols from 10 hours a week to 15 hours a week for this year. So we have increased a little bit, but we're open to more.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything further on that item? Member from Edmundston Bromley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Through you to yourself first, but certainly to the director. So I note on the enforcement, there were typically they did not find violations, but where they found violations, I think typically they were issued warnings. Is that part of our strategy that initially, as we are rolling this out, that it shall be warnings and a non-monetary sanction, but sooner or later, do we anticipate, if they are non-compliant, that there will be contraventions levied?
So my understanding, in some cases, there will be fines levied, but I'll use speed enforcement for an example. In that case, we would actually have to purchase a radar device, and then those enforcement agents would actually have to be stopped on the trail, waiting for somebody, and then probably pursue them afterwards. So there's some logistics that are that go along with that aren't contemplated at the moment. Supplementary.
Thank you, and it is not. It is supplemental, but it is not directly related to that same thing. Though, so we have engaged enforcement of our own, but I'm presuming this is within the communities that are policed by the OPP. I'm presuming that from time to time the OPP may, as part of their operations, be patrolling these. Do we have any awareness of that?
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. OPP will engage on the trail system. They do occasionally tell us, but before we used to actually hire the OPP. We used to actually pay a duty officer to do patrols for us, but we find with the private security we're getting a much better results, knock wood. But OPP can still enforce anytime they want. That's their prerogative.
Thank you. And just to clarify, I mean, I was certainly not in any way suggesting that they were not very welcome, but I'm presuming as part of their role that they would be doing this on patrol. Likewise, I don't suspect that when they are having their boat patrols in the summer, that is also part of what their role is.
Yeah, and we're certainly aware that the OPP are out on the trail, the snowmobile trails, and I'm wondering if maybe we can't reach out to the detachments and the staff sergeants to, at least annually, to get a report on something that they may do. Member from Greater Madawaska.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'm sure they must have a report because it's at least once every 2 weeks by my house, by the KMP Trail. OPP are out on their ATVs patrolling and stopping people. So they are out there, they are doing enforcement, and perhaps it's just the reporting back to us that we're not receiving.
Okay, thank you for that. Member from Petawawa.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, if there's an interest from any of the members of council, Petawawa did some speed monitoring on our sections of the trail, and the statistics were quite alarming. It was, I don't want to throw statistics out here, but I think it was about an 80% rate of users were over the speed limit, and some of the maximum speeds recognized were quite alarming. Like in a 20 kilometer zone, the maximum speeds recognized were like 85 kilometers an hour. I can share those statistics for you from our portions of the trail if you're interested.
Hence the question about enforcement. Fair enough. Anything further on this one? I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Move on to item number 2.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Item 2 is the purchase of 3 light-duty pickup trucks. And the recommendation here is that the Operation Committee approves contract PWO 2025-04 for the purchase of 3 light-duty pickup trucks as submitted by Surgeoner Chev Buick GMC Cadillac of Ottawa, Ontario, in the amount of $163,740 plus applicable taxes, and that a purchase order be issued authorizing the contract.
Thank you. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from Madawaska Valley. Seconded by the member from Greater Madawaska. Some background, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair, through you. So during this tender, we took the opportunity to ask for pricing, optional pricing on electric vehicles and on hybrid vehicles as well, just to see what the pricing was and if we could actually make them work in our fleet. So unfortunately, I didn't know all the ins and outs of light-duty trucks. So, for example, the Ford Lightning, there's 4 different levels of Ford Lightning. There's a base model, and then there's like a $200,000 jobby that can... So when we got all the information back and our mechanics went through it all, we found out that the EV was the low-end EV, so it could only go 200 kilometers during winter. That was what was told to us by the proponent. Also, the hybrid units, I'm sure some of you have hybrid units similar to mine. Like if I'm on the highway, my car will go into EV at 100 kilometers an hour and go for a long time. Unfortunately, pickup trucks that are supplied here are not there yet. They have what they call electric boost for low-end torque, so they're really good for towing, like pulling off a start line with a load of cows in the Rio, for example. But they're of the upfront costs wouldn't offset what we would save in fuel, for example. Mayor Donoghue did ask last night about some questions about if we did a carbon offset sort of studies and stuff like that on, but we never. We realize right now that unfortunately the gas trucks are fit our fleet better for the distances that we have to travel. But I don't want anyone in the room to think that we're not trying to think green, because we are trying. It's not there for us yet, just given the large amounts of area that we cover. So with that, I'll leave it.
Okay, thanks for that. And the question I asked earlier, so the first two, the Trillium Ford, the one at 112 is a hybrid, and then the one from Urban Ford at 115 was a full EV. So, member from Bonaire Valley.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thanks for the background, Lee. I think we've said in this room over and over again, they're just not there yet. There was a very interesting study done by CAA, who I think we all trust, that showed that in our climate, especially when you get north of 7, that in fact, take 35% off whatever kilometer they're telling you. And in fact, the EV that they were driving, a CAA pickup truck had to pick it up because it didn't even make it to the next charging station. So we're not there yet. We did go through Canoe for these, I'm assuming. Awesome. And I know the warden's going to ask, so I'm going to ask, are they white? He didn't even.
I don't
He didn't even look up.
Mr. Perkins.
That was all for you, Warden.
As winter seems to be continuing on, we are going to continue with the camouflage pickup trucks as white.
Fair enough. Anything further on this item? Seeing none, member from Edmundston Bromley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So, of course, on the emissions, that's something we can defer now that we're anticipating standing up the Climate Action Plan Committee that likely will have some kind of input into that, or perhaps the lens through which they would be suing them things. I was quite surprised, actually, at the small cost differential, though, as Mr. Perkins had identified. This will be the entry-level battery, because typically what I was seeing was what Councillor Murphy was referring to, that whatever grade of battery it is, I had read 30%, but 35 is certainly within the same ballpark, that is the diminishment on significant cold weather. So ultimately, a battery that might actually, or an electric vehicle that might operate in the service requirements that we would have, would be much more expensive. This, I'm sure, would be the entry-level truck. The other thing that I'm kind of curious about, because it says in here, setting aside that the range itself is a limiting factor, staff have reviewed the hybrid and fully electric alternatives and found that the benefits over the life of the trucks would not adequately make up for the additional upfront capital cost. So in this instance, particularly for the full EVs, it was $7,000 difference for two, or $3,500 difference between them. I'm kind of astonished that the electric engine does not contribute to substantial savings, both in terms of the cost to operate, but even in terms of maintenance. How extensive was that analysis of the operating costs?
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair. We didn't do an in-depth analysis, but when we went back to talk to the supplier, and he told us it was going to be the low-end battery for 200 kilometers, give or take, and then for the substantially more expensive Ford Lightning, which was upwards of $160,000. I mean, we could get 400 kilometers, but $160,000 we can buy 3 gas pickup trucks. So. That was the essential conversation afterwards.
Well, I do appreciate that. My question was more precisely towards the life cycle costs, and I'm not sure how long we anticipate or how often our replacement interval is on the pickup trucks. But ultimately, where I was going is, what's the cost to operate a fully EV vehicle versus a internal combustion engine vehicle over that interval that we would have ownership of the pickup?
I'm going to go to the member from Bonaire Valley.
The member from Bonashir Valley with her Murphy's Auto hat on. Less components in an EV. Less mechanical combustion engine components, spark plugs, etc. Far more expensive components when you're talking that they're all electric. They have not come far enough to not have gremlins, and the gremlins are very serious. I just don't think we're there yet, and I can't speak to one manufacturer or another. I know that we do work on several different kinds of EVs and hybrids. That being said, when you think of a battery in your normal combustion engine vehicle, that battery can be recored. Let's say it lasts 5 to 7 years. It can be recored, say, 5 times. So you're talking about 35-year life cycle. They are still not recyclable, and those batteries, I don't know what they're doing at the battery farms with them, but they are very, very, very expensive. I know that every EV driver that we've had so far, thank goodness, has had an extended warranty, because the batteries are ridiculously expensive. So I think that the return on the investment, although I think eventually it'll be there, right now it's just not there. I think that maybe 10 years from now, right now I think that our staff are definitely making the right decision going with just a normal vehicle. I do believe also that the province and the feds are going to have to back off this idea of 2030 for no sales of, I don't think it'll happen very soon either, but those are my thoughts, just as a car girl. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I think the answer to the question is that we don't have the quantifiable numbers that you're looking for, but I guess anecdotally, it's clearly staff's not comfortable with it at this point. Supplementary.
So ultimately, and I do appreciate the information, though, as you have noted, Mr. Chair, it is anecdotal. There has to be some agency, governmental agency, or even if it is car and driver, that is actually gathering data on what the operating costs are, because and they can do an equivalent. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, whether it is kilowatts, whether it's horsepower, all of those things we can measure of a unit of energy to propel this thing for a kilometer. And the fact that we're not going to have the same issues with electric engines that we have with internal combustion engines. So somebody's got to be gathering that data, and I think that moving forward, that has to be part of the decision-making framework. And I understand in this instance that data is not readily available. What I am saying is the report says that we can't recover our costs, but I'm not sure that there is a whole lot of validation of why that is, other than perhaps anecdotal.
Okay, noted. And I think moving forward, we'll probably have more data to work with. And so I think the pickup truck is still fairly new in the market. I mean, the Lightning's been out for a while, but it's still new to the. So I think when you get into being that new, like even regular maintenance is probably not even much of a factor yet on those vehicles. So, anything further on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that is carried. We'll move on to the next item. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair. That concludes the operations report.
Does it?
My apologies, I'll get back here.
I'm pretty sure we got more. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Yes, on the bylaw, item number 3 is a licensing agreement with the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders, or the OFTR. And the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends to County Council that a bylaw be adopted to execute a license agreement with the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders, commencing May 1st, 2025, and expiring on November 1st, 2028.
So thank you for that. Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from North Algona Wilberforce, seconded by the member from McNabb Brayside. Some background?
Thank you, Chair. The background here is the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders, or the OFTR, is the provincial representatives for the off-road motorcycle community, and they're very similar to the Ontario Federation of Snowmobile Clubs for snowmobile riders. There's some background there on when they started. Similar to other license holding organizations, the OFTR issues memberships, permits for use on their trail systems. OFTR has submitted a request to enter into a license agreement for permitting members' use of the open sections of the county's recreational trails, including for consideration is the draft license from the County ATV Club, RCATV, similar to other agreements and per requirements of the County of Renfrew Bylaw 8124, being a bylaw to regulate and govern the use of the lands identified as the County of Renfrew recreational trails as linear parks. Motorized trail users will be required to be permit holder members of a licensee, be insured, and hold a valid license. The Recreational Trails Advisory Committee, at their meeting on March 19th, 2025, recommended that the Operations Committee recommend that County Council adopt a bylaw to execute a license agreement with the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that. This is the first time we've entered into an agreement with this organization. However, they do have agreements with other trail operators across the province. So, any comments or questions? Member from North Algona Wilberforce.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, the permitting system that will be in place, is it going to be similar to, I believe it's the Renfrew County ATV Club, part of their permit fees go back towards the county? Is this going to be similar?
I believe so, Mr. Perkins. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Anything further on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that is carried. And an addendum that's included in our package.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is item 4 under bylaws, the rehabilitation of county structure B122, which is Waba Creek Bridge. So the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council approve contract PWC 2025-22 as submitted by DW Building Restoration Services Incorporated from Ottawa, Ontario, for the rehabilitation of county structure B122, Waba Creek Bridge, located on County Road 52, which is Burnstown Road, 0.7 kilometers north of County Road 2, which is White Lake Road, in the Township of McNabb Brayside, in the amount of $638,892.80, plus applicable taxes, and that the County Council adopt a bylaw to execute the contract. Thank you.
Can I get a mover and seconder for the recommendation? Moved by the member from McNabb Brayside, seconded by the member from Armprior. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. The background here is, as you can see, there was 9 bidders that bid on this for us, with DW Building Restoration Services of Ontario, or of Ottawa, Ontario, at $638,892.80 being the lowest bidder. So the financial implications here is that we actually budgeted $405,000 for this, so we are significantly over budget, as you can see. But we will continue to monitor pricing as we go forward throughout the year, and we'll come back to you if there's a need to adjust. As per requirements of House GA08, where we're over 100,000, we have to bring it to council for approval. And staff will continue to monitor the overall 2025 capital budget program variance as projects continue to be tendered, and if required, we will present options for considerations to meet the 2025 capital budget in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Comments or questions? Okay. As we've seen with a lot of our tenders this year, that some are coming in over, some are coming in under. Overall, we're still running over budget on our capital projects, but we're hoping that we still have a few more to go out, so hopefully we'll see some savings there. As long as there's no steel involved, I think we'll be okay. So, anything further on this item? Member from Edmiston Bromley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just kind of curious, so as I understand, the the inspections of the bridge found that it was in a more degraded state than we anticipated, so that rather than just a shave and pave essentially or replacing the surface, there's a much more comprehensive rehabilitation. From that, though, are we finding an accelerated degradation on our structures? Because this was not anticipated when this project was first as part of our annual capital investment. It was not anticipated to be a full rehabilitation.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we were looking at a minor rehabilitation, and once the consulting engineers had a look, that it needed to be more. So, but I don't know if we're seeing an accelerated degradation of these, Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. It's a very interesting question, actually, because we have noticed on some of our newer projects, so I'm not sure if Council can remember, but old Highway 62 bridge on Bourne Road, which was in the community of Alice, in Laurentian Valley, was only replaced 5 years ago, and we've actually gone back to the manufacturer and asked for warranty, because there's actual rust underneath the bridge that should not be there, right? So we are seeing some interesting things occurring out there. So I don't know if it's workmanship but in this case here is exactly right. Like, this was 20 years ago, it was the last time we were there, and we thought it was going to be a minor repair, and once we got our consultant report back, it turned out to be much more involved than we anticipated. So obviously the price reflects that. But we are seeing that bridge, for example, in Osborne is I know Taylor's team is working with the contractors, Lessard, now to see what the story is.
If I may then, Mr. Chair, it perhaps is too early to identify necessarily a trend, but it does sound like this is something to have on the radar to be keeping on top of. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the updated inspections and updating of the asset management plan will continue to progress into the future. So.
And if I may, Chair, one other thing too is we do visual inspections, right? So when we do hire on the contractor, they actually go do a much more in-depth, they'll do core samples and all sorts of things. But for us, for our OSUM, to meet our obligation, we just do a visual inspection. So it's not until we get the detailed consultant report that we really find out what the story is.
All right, supplementary?
Yeah, just on that comment, though, I'm presuming that the visual inspections is part of the process that we have essentially from time immemorial been doing. But we've established what our expected life, or what the expected life expectancy is of these structures, and that's more what my concern is. I get that they will have much more diagnostic equipment available to them to investigate the structure and the soundness of the structure, but ultimately our asset management has posited a life expectancy for these, and that would be my concern of the impact on our long-term financial plan. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that is carried. I would now entertain a motion that the discussion report as a whole be received as presented. Moved by member from Bonaire Valley, seconded by the member from Head Clare Mariah. Further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. There's no deferred reports. Any verbal reports from anybody? I'm not even sure what that item means, but so is there any updates to information received requiring verbal reports? Seeing none. Closed session, there's none. Any new business? Member from Greater Madawaska.
Thank you. At our, I guess we had a council meeting this morning, so our 2 council meetings ago, I mentioned a notice of motion that I was going to bring forward at this committee. I am retracting that notice of motion. I think staff has enough on their plate right now, and I'll defer that to another time. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to make the group aware that I don't know if you recall that I was appointed to the president of the Canadian Public Works Association, which is a which is a committee of the American Public Works Association. So during all this stuff that happened over the last few months, I, as the president of the Canadian Public Works Association, I wanted to write a statement regarding tariffs and how it was going to affect public works on both sides of the border for infrastructure projects, be it U.S. or Canada. The APWA board was not in favor of the CPWA doing something aside from their mandated statement. So anyways, at the end of the day, I resigned as the CPWA president. So just, thank you. And yeah, just ethically, there were some other issues going on with some diversity, equity, and inclusion that they received notice from the White House that they weren't allowed to have that anymore. So I just felt that it was the right thing to do. So I just wanted to let you know I really appreciated everyone's support when I was involved. I just couldn't see the County of Renfrew paying association dues to an association that wasn't willing to do that for the president of the committee. So anyways, I just wanted to share. So thank you. Thank you for the support.
Yeah, and thank you for that, and thank you for standing up for what we believe is right, and certainly this body, the county, the province, and our country appreciates that stance. Member from Edmonton Bromley.
Just to assure the director, my support for his current move is stronger than it was for his actual ascendancy into that position. I admire the principled stance actually on this. At the very least, I am astonished that even the umbrella organization itself would not have a position on tariffs. It seems to be unfortunately in keeping with, I'm going to be quite blunt, cowardice in my estimation on taking a stand on unwarranted, unparalleled, illegal activities. So it is my thank you through you, Mr. Chair, to the past chair of the Public Works Association for a very principled move.
Thank you for that. Member from Bonnechere Valley.
I echo my colleagues' comments. Thank you for doing that, Lee, but thank you for getting out. You just said that you couldn't see paying dues, so the County of Renfrew has extracted themselves from this organization, period, full stop. Excellent, thank you.
Member from Greater Madawaska.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Lee, I'm wondering, the document that you wrote that you wanted to express them, could you send it to us at council so we could read it? Because I imagine it's going to shed some light on what we might be dealing with. Thank you.
If he's willing to do that, sure. Okay. That would be up to him for sure. Yeah. Anything further? Seeing no other business, I would entertain a motion that this session, that this session adjourn and the next regular session be held on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 at 1:34. Moved by the member from Laurentian Hills, seconded by the member from Madawaska Valley. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.